Yeah, hi everyone. We're back again with another insightful session for all of you. Today we have something really special. Before I jump into that, let's just wait for another couple of minutes so that the others can join in the meantime. I see a lot of people joining from different parts of the world. I hope our speakers are already with just giving a couple of minutes for them.
Sure.
Great. Yeah, hi everyone. We're back again. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all those who joined us from across the world. I am Manish Krishnan, Head of Marketing here at QKS Group, and I welcome you all to today's exciting session on the Enterprise AI Transformation Framework for scaling AI with clarity, governance, and measurable value. Once again, thank you for taking the valuable time to join us. Over the past few years, AI has moved from being an emerging technology to becoming a boardroom priority. Most organizations today are already experimenting with AI through pilots, use cases, and early initiatives. Well, but however, one challenge that remains or that still exists. Many organizations are investing in AI, but very few have a clear path to scale these initiatives into measurable business outcomes. So the question is no longer where we can use AI, but rather the question is how do we scale AI across enterprise with the right strategy, governance, and measurable value. Well, here at QKS Group, we've been working with enterprise leaders to understand what separates organization that is successful at scaling AI from those that remain stuck in experimentation. Today, what we have consistently observed is that successful AI adoption requires more than just the technology. And I hope all of you also agree to that. It requires leadership alignment, data readiness, governance, operational discipline, and a structured transformation approach. Well, that is what today's session is about. We'll introduce QKS's Enterprise AI Transformation Framework and how organizations can assess these current readiness, identify capability gaps, prioritize AI initiatives, and build a practical roadmap to accelerate enterprise-wide AI adoption. Our objective today is not to discuss AI trends. That is something generic that we've seen happening across the world. But today it is about to provide a practical framework that you can take back and apply within your organization. Towards the end of the session, we'll also share how organization can benchmark their AI maturity against your competitive peers and explore opportunities to build a more structured AI transformation journey. So stay tuned with us towards the end. With that, I'll introduce our speakers for today. We have Devendra, Associate Vice President and Principal Advisor for AI Transformation Services here at QKS Group. He brings in nearly 3 decades of experience helping enterprise drive large-scale transformation initiatives. Joining him, we have Amandeep Singh, Associate Director and Principal Analyst, who advises organization on AI adoption, customer experience technologies, as well as enterprise AI strategies. Once again, thank you for joining us. With that, let's get started and over to you, team.
Uh, Anish, thank you very much, and what a fantastic introduction. You are indeed the gold standard when it comes to initiating the webinars. In fact, you have already called out my first few words already, but let me repeat that. So first of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from whatever part of the world you are joining us. Thank you very much. Uh, I'm delighted to welcome you to this, executive webinar. And as Anish called out, the topic is very relevant from AI pilots to enterprise value. And what more importantly, we're going to talk today is we're going to talk about a structured framework that QKS has introduced in terms of scaling AI, which is with clarity, with governance, and with measurable value. So over the last 24 months, specifically, what we have witnessed through our research and our interactions in the industry is there has been a significant shift in enterprise technology, and more specifically in the space of AI. And why I say that is because, as you can see, Gen AI has really moved from research labs into boardrooms. Almost every organization today has launched AI initiative. As I look around in this room here, all of you, there is definitely some AI initiative, small or big, happening in your organizations. Many organizations have created new roles. They have created new chief AI officer. We were talking to a company and they said we restructured our organization so that we could create a title called as chief AI officer. Budgets continue to get plugged in and they continue to increase. Obviously, with that, board expectations continue to rise. Yet, despite all this, kind of excitement and all this momentum, one common challenge remains. And I think Anish talked about it a little bit. Let me kind of double click a little bit more on that. Most organizations that we have kind of talked to or have researched and experienced are still struggling to move beyond those isolated AI pilot cases or experiments and create something what their boards want in terms of a sustainable enterprise-wide scale. So today's discussion, we are not talking about the latest models or about which LLM is the best that you can scale your pilots to an enterprise level. It's not about technology. It's not about prompts. It's not about agentic AI versus agents or any technology features. We are going to talk about transformation today because the organization, in our opinion, in our perspective at QKS, is the one which will win are not the ones which have maximum AI pilots or the maximum number of models or the maximum number of technology. These are the organizations which will have the strongest transformation capability. So the next 40-45 minutes, what we will share with you is what we have learned. What we have learned working with enterprises on the ground across verticals, across industries, and introduce to you a very practical framework that has been designed at QKS to help organizations scale their enterprise journey. So Anish, let's share with the audience our agenda. And I think we have a very exciting agenda lined up here. And I want to thank my co-panelist here, Amandeep, who is kind of put in a lot of effort here to kind of put a very structured agenda here. So obviously we are done with welcome introductions and kind of objectives here. What we are going to jump straight away is into a little bit of how and why organizations, are stalling or failing in their enterprise transformation journeys. What we will come back and really the heart of this session is to introduce the enterprise transformation framework. We always come up with acronyms. So for this one also, we have an acronym called as ETF. So we're going to introduce to you the ETF framework. Stay tuned for that. Obviously, we are going to talk a little bit and drill down a little bit into the platform capabilities and engines. We'll also discuss a little bit about experience in terms of why the practitioner's experience matters. We'll also explore and kind of share with you as to why we believe this particular approach or this framework is different and is a little different from the traditional consulting transformation frameworks that are available in the market. And finally, which is very important, we'll leave you with some recommendations, that can be immediately applied in your organizations. And when I say recommendations, these are some offerings that QKS has to give to you. So these are kind of freebies that are available. So stay tuned. There's a gift for you, all of you, at the end of the 45 minutes. In summary, our goal is very simple. We want to leave you with a very clear understanding of what is truly a requirement in terms of your ambition, your AI ambition, to be moved from pilots to a more business value that is scalable and effectively an AI transformation plan. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Aman, and Aman is going to take you through the next section in terms of how AI transformations frequently stall. Aman?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Devendra. Thank you so much, Anish, as well. I think that was a wonderful intro, and the points, were that brings me to this slide is that, what Devendra said, summing it up in just one line, if you see, is the title of the slide, that it isn't the technology, it's the framework, right? Because what I have seen, and along with me, I've been working with Devendra with so many transformation projects. Everyone thinks that AI is a technology problem to solve. But I don't think that's the case. If you solve AI from a technology POV, you'll only be able to reap what I would say in today's world, only 20% of what it benefits, right? So in my recent interactions with CIOs, transformation officers, CTOs, there is one line of pattern that is common, right? So you'll see that enterprises AI investments have been higher, but there are board mandates that has continued to increase. There are dedicated AI budgets that are completely continuously expanding as well. I've seen AI pilot programs are now across every functions. Marketing teams are experimenting with content generation. Anish, you might be knowing that. Customer teams are deploying virtual assistants. Even the finance teams are exploring automations. So instead, when if you see that AI is in all these broad functions, yet when executives ask a simple question, what measurable enterprise AI has delivered, you'll find the answer is often unclear. Some might say that we have become faster, some might say we have saved some money, but there is no clear answer to that. Why? Because technology was never the primary challenge. Most organizations have access to the technology. I think the real challenge is in orchestrating transformation across the enterprise. So AI success actually, it requires alignment between strategy, governance, data, operating models, also the talent, processes, and then the value measurement. So without the alignment between these, I think you the AI pilots that you're working on won't create transformation. So that is there. So even if every function, they are working in launching some experiments, every what every function will deliver will still be in isolated benefits, right? It won't be unified because there is no one connecting them into an enterprise strategy. And that's where this is important to realize that we need some structure that would actually connect everything into an enterprise strategy to govern the transformation. And that brings me back to some of the barriers that are into my next is that the 8 barriers that stall AI. So if I say you that the AI programs usually stall for simple reasons, because the enterprise, when they invest in AI, when they start with some pilots, they start with certain ambition, but the system around that ambition is incomplete. That was the main things that I've seen, because why AI have stalled or have been stopped in certain cases. So if you notice, you'll see after the first wave of pilots that have been run in companies, many enterprises start seeing the same pattern. The ideas are very strong, the technology is available, the intent is also serious, yet the program begins to slow down because enterprise system around AI is not fully ready. The same pattern across many companies. So what I have done, I've bucketed these 8 barriers into 3 buckets. So the first gap appears in strategy and direction. So many organizations have strong executive interest, they have active budgets, so many use cases they want to put into motion, but the AI agenda is often spread across functions without a clear portfolio, a written plan. There is no defined KPIs, there is no one accountable owner for the value realization. And when every function moves independently, the enterprise gets activity, but that activity or the pilots that have been run does not automatically compound into enterprise impact. They're still fragmented. So those were the 3 things. The second bucket that I have found is about foundation and controls. So AI needs trusted data. The most important, if you guys are coming from banking and insurance, you guys would know this, that governed access is, and the model accountability, risk controls are the clear way to measure the enterprise value in banks. When data is fragmented, governance is added late, and ROI is also tracked loosely, because you cannot have certain parameters that could actually take as a whole value measurement and track the ROI. So that is the main problem. So the second gap sits around foundation and controls that you need to fix before you move ahead. The third gap is about people and change. Most people take this as a not very serious gap, and they run these through just because people might get adapt to it. But trust me, people, you can have technology as an axis, but it would be the people and change management would actually make it run into the real environment. Because if you see AI adoption, it needs more technical talent, it needs business translators, it needs product owners, process redesigning, so much thing to do. And without the change layer, I think AI remains present in the organization, but absent from operating in the rhythm of what business is happening. And I think the most important barrier, the last one, I think is treating AI as rightly I mentioned, as a technology project. And I think this is where you lose a lot of momentum, because AI transformation has to sit across the pillars that I just mentioned about strategy, data, governance, people, ownership, value realization. And the organization that scale AI are the ones that will build this in a structured and operating way. So moving after that, I just have one more slide where I have tried to understand what CIOs need today, and how it's so interesting to see that how this role has evolved. And I think this is the role that has evolved so much in this recent year. The designation is, it's continuously demanding more and more in today's era. So earlier, if you see, the CIOs were often pulled towards AI experiments, testing tools, providing concepts, helping team to understand what AI could do in different pockets of the business. But today, if you see, the mandate has expanded into AI transformation. The role is responsible for sharpening how AI changes decision, workflows, the customer experience, productivity, risk controls, and the business performance across the enterprise. It's so much that is being changed. I think the second shift is from isolated use cases to a structured roadmap. I think CIOs needs to see every use case as a part of larger enterprise portfolio. Some use cases can create quick productivity gains. Some may improve customer experiences, but the real advantage would come, the roadmap that has been given by leadership will be coming from a clear view of what should be prioritized, what should be scaled, and what should be stopped early. The third is that I'm seeing is the shift from technology focus to business outcomes. AI success cannot be measured only by deployment of model performance. The stronger thing is that it should reduce cost, it should improve speed, it should increase revenue, reduce risk as well. So this is where I think CIS becomes a business value leader, because every AI initiative needs a direct connection to a measurable outcomes. The fourth shift is from pilot to enterprise scale strategy. These points where Anish and Devendra mentioned that scaling AI requires actually governance, reusable data set, approved patterns, and I think this is where CIOs needs the right rails, because scaling AI across the enterprise is very different from launching AI inside one function. You need to have a holistic view of your entire transformation journey. The fifth shift is it's also important. It's actually moving from IT focused activity to measurable business value. The thing is here that a lot of ownership is required. A trust layer is required when you are doing transformation. You need to understand the risk. You need to understand what is the cost of not transforming. So as Devendra mentioned, every one of you are doing some work into the AI, but what is the cost of not doing it in a unified way, or not doing it in a structured way? It's important, and that will give you the rise to measurable business value. Moving to next, I have one poll, and I would love everyone if you can just whatever your options are, whatever you feels right with you can just post your options into the chat box, and would love to see. So would love to understand, what is your organization's current priority for scaling AI into business operation? Is it identifying high impact use cases? Is it improving data readiness and integration? Is it building governance and risk controls? Or is it moving AI pilots into production? What you guys think is the current priority for scaling AI into business? Would love to have your answers into chat. You can just ping into A, B, C, and D, and would love to see what are your views around that.
Let's just give a couple of seconds here for them. To all
Sure.
those who've joined us, do drop your options below. You want to take it in a direction where it is helpful for both of us.
Yes. See, I'm seeing a mix of options coming from B and C. So, improving data readiness and integration, and building governance and risk controls. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. So that is where the problem is, because I think things are not connected and are very fragmented, if I say, and that's where we need to focus into this direction. With this, I would love to bring Devendra, and would please put some light on the ETF process, so people would understand that how to reduce this fragmentation and have a structured approach into the AI transformation journey.
Yeah, Aman, thank you very much. I think you have set the stage for me in the right way. And I think I'm not surprised with some of the poll answers, Aman, that came in, because, there's always this struggle around any of those four options. So, in summary, what we are saying is most enterprises today are not struggling with AI ideas. We were on a call with a CAIO, and he was telling us we have 25 ideas around AI, 25 use cases. What they are struggling is which one to pick up, how to prioritize them, and scaling them at a enterprise level. So the challenge is no longer where we can use AI. The challenge is how do we industrialize AI across the enterprise while maintaining governance, while maintaining trust, as well as measurable outcomes. And this is why that is where the inception of the QKS enterprise transformation framework came in. And I'll take a little bit of time here, Aman, if that's okay, because I really want to have the audience understand this framework, right? So essentially this framework is designed to address AI transformation challenges directly. So any of the CIOs in this room or outside, if they are facing a transformation challenge in their organization, if they are seeing multiple pilots, multiple things happening in their organization, but not able to scale up to a level, this is possibly the magic wand we have here. So to simplify this, the framework essentially consists of three phases. As you can see on the left side, we have three phases. We have 6 transformation stages. You will find them somewhere in the middle, and I'll kind of desynthesize it over a period of time. We have at the bottom of the chart, you see 7 foundational capability pillars. And then in between, you have a very strong Spark intelligence layer, which Aman and me, we're going to talk about it a little later. And throughout the course of this transformation framework, there are strategic deliverables that guide the CIO through the journey of transformation. So let me take one thing at a time. As I said, the core of this framework is essentially 3 phases. The first phase, as you can see, is called as illuminate. And why we call it at illuminate? Because before organizations can improve, they must understand the reality. As in life, if you want to improve something, you need to know what is my baseline. So this phase, the phase 1, which is illuminate, essentially establishes what we call as readiness within the organization. It identifies where the organization today is in terms of the maturity. Where are we today in terms of the gaps that we have? It aligns stakeholders within the organization, and it sometimes creates what we call as a baseline. So the output of this phase is essentially a baseline report and a transformation charter, which essentially is a very good tool for a CAIO or a CTO to go back to the board and present a strong AI case. The phase 2, as you elevate from the phase 1, from illuminate, is to go into a design mode. So here's where we assist or we advise the CAIOs in terms of building the actual AI transformation blueprint, building the governance structures, setting up the operating models, defining the technology architecture, the data strategy, as well as execution priorities. The output in this case is a complete transformation blueprint. The phase 3, very important, is about ignite. So having illuminated, having designed, it's about igniting the whole transformation journey. This is where the actual execution phase begins. Programs get launched, capabilities start to scale, and what Aman talked about, that the value doesn't get measured today, starts to get measured. So the transformation that we put in theory actually becomes practical and becomes operational. So these are in broad areas, Aman, kind of the three phases that we have from a ETF perspective. And I think the challenges that the 8 barriers that you called out, or the transformation of the CAIO role, I think these 3 phases essentially address these barriers. Across all these 3 phases, what we assess essentially, or what we help CIOs assess for their organization, are essentially 7 capability pillars. And we do that across 6 stages. And that's where the combination of the 7 pillars and the 6 stages come in. So essentially, each of these 7 pillars get assessed through different aspects across the 6 stages. And let me call out this 7 pillars, because they are very important in the context of what we are talking. And Aman alluded to that a little bit. So strategy and leadership, data foundation, technology and infrastructure, process and workflow, people and culture, governance, and value realization. In our assessment and in our observation over the last kind of 10 years of research, and more specifically with AI over the last few years of research, is most enterprises have focused on just the technology piece. Maybe there is some attention to data, but large parts of strategy, leadership, process, workflow, people, culture, governance, and value realization was almost ignored or was given very less attention. So these pillars, if given due attention, and if they are attended to in a right balance, is where the transformation is a success. What we have learned over the period of time is successful AI transformation requires more than just technology. It requires a structured framework aligning all this, the people and strategy, the governance and technology, the data and the workflow, and the value realization together. The many reasons why AI transformation stall is because organizations focus only on some of these pillars and not all of these pillars. And that's where the QKS enterprise transformation comes into picture, because the fundamental of these framework is this. Let me go a little bit into the phases, and we talked about the 6 phases. Let me begin with the diagnose phase, the first phase. So as I mentioned, every transformation starts essentially with understanding the readiness or the current state. Many organizations, and this is in our experience, have either overestimated or underestimated their AI maturity, because they have just focused only on technology, right? They have not looked at their organization readiness. We spoke to one CAIO, and he said his organization is much more ready for AI transformation. He believed that his organization was very mature. When he did this assessment, he had a reality check and he saw that, oh, my organization is still not ready. Picture that with another CAIO, and she was highly underestimating her organization. She thought her organization was not as mature. But when we did the assessment across the 7 pillars, we could actually see that they could see more maturity across the 7 pillars. So if I come back into the diagnose state, the key questions that get answered is my data ready? Do I have got executive sponsorship? Are my governance structures ready? Do I have the skills required to scale? So essentially, a good baseline definition is available as a fact check before any decisions around AI are taken. The align phase, which is the second phase or the second stage, is very important, because one of the biggest reasons AI initiatives fail is a lack of alignment across different stakeholders within the organization or across business objectives. So the second stage actually brings alignment across strategic priorities, business outcomes, defining a 30-60-90 roadmap across use cases, getting definition around the funding approach, getting alignment with the CFO and his office in terms of what's going to be my payback, defining the success metrics as well as the gap register. So essentially, the CAIO is equipped with a board-ready charter that gives executive accountability in terms of the AI transformation. As I move from a stage 1, stage 2, which is from a diagnose to align. We then get into architect, and we are actually entering the phase 2 of our transformation journey, which is we are getting into the design phase. And within that, the stage of architecture is where we actually design the transformation blueprint. So having got the alignment in the earlier stage, it's about designing the future state operating model. This includes defining the AI architecture, the data architecture, the target model, how's going to be, and Aman talked about the talent strategy, how's going to be my process redesign happening, as well as the entire technology ecosystem. So the output in this stage 3 is essentially a transformation blueprint from an architecture perspective. This is where we are really moving in from those isolated use cases to an enterprise defined scalable architecture. The phase 4, the stage 4 is where we get into the governance playbook. This is actually in our research, the most overlooked element of AI transformation. And I think Aman talked about it, right? That governance is almost looked like as a stepchild. You look almost in terms of technology and data, but when it comes to governance, it's always given a second fiddle. And that's where the stage 4 in terms of governance is where you look at AI in terms of adoption, in terms of accelerations, and making governance really a competitive advantage from an organization perspective. So the key areas that we look at here in terms of adhering are, how do we make sure I define my responsible AI within my organization? How do I take care of my risk management? How do I define the model governance, the data governance? And most importantly, in some regulated industries like banking or pharma healthcare, how does my regulatory compliance come into picture, as well as things like human oversight and explainability coming into picture. So essentially for this stage 4 within the phase 2, we are essentially looking at delivering a governance playbook. So in our experience, and I'm going to share a case study later on, organizations that scale AI fastest are the ones which have the strongest governance foundation. And that's why within our ETF framework, we have a dedicated stage purely from a governance perspective. The next stage is exactly the execute, which is where strategy really becomes the operationally, the rubber hits the road kind of an analogy, where you are really looking at operational reality. The focus area here would be in terms of the prioritized use cases, agile delivery, defining the change management, identifying the vendors in terms of how you're going to do the technology assessment, the adoption management, as well as a benefit tracking. So essentially what we are looking at this 5th stage, as we have got into the phase 3, which is the ignite phase, is we are looking at a true execution playbook. How am I actually going to implement what I have strategized in phase 1 and phase 2? So obviously AI transformation is not an IT project. It's a portfolio of consolidated business changes. And that's why the execute phase is much more than just an implementation phase. And then the last bit is the scaling bit, which is where most organizations have kind of struggled, which is, how do I really scale this to a larger level? And that's where we have the framework defining adoption, defining what's going to be the business value, what are going to be my productivity gains, how do I minimize my risk exposure, and how do I make my capability maturity scale up to a larger level. So essentially what we are looking at in the last stage in terms of output is kind of a transformation scorecard, right? Because as the common adage goes, right, what gets measured gets scaled. So it's all the hard work that we have put in across the 5 stages. You are essentially making sure that the rocket really gets launched and you truly get value out of your AI transformation. So all these 6 stages, they are very much interlinked and interconnected. It doesn't mean that at the end of one stage you are done with it and then you're beginning with another stage. All these 6 stages pretty much feed into one another. There are linkages back. So for example, in a stage 2 where we are defining the alignment in terms of the financial matrix. In stage 6 is where you are really through a transformation scorecard coming back and evaluating whether those metrics that I defined are really putting into the value. Anything that I've defined in terms of a technology evaluation is something that gets defined and actioned in stage 5, so that we have the right implementation partners available. So the whole structure, while it may look bulky into a naked eyes, is a very tightly knit enterprise framework that takes care all aspects across the length and breadth of an AI implementation. What is important, and at the Anish, if you can stay back on that slide, please, thank you, is the Spark intelligent layer, which is at the center of that chart there. And then the Spark intelligence sits within the framework and provides the intelligence needed to make informed transformation decisions. And again, it's a combination, and I'll have Aman dwell down about it a little deeper, but just in kind of highlight, it combines market intelligence, it combines content intelligence, it combines benchmark intelligence and decision intelligence. Because what is essentially for all of you CAIOs and CTOs is to know what is our competition doing, what is our marketplace doing, what are some of the best practices that are available, what does QKS's research tell me, is QKS bringing in any recent trends into it? So all the engine and all the information in terms of the intelligence is available within the Spark intelligence layer. And I think that's a very important aspect, because I think what we firmly believe is AI transformation should be driven by intelligence and evidence. It should not just be another hype. Because at QKS, we really believe that AI transformation is a business transformation. It's not an IT transformation. So the objective is not to just deploy more models. So we would not recommend you to add 2 more models because you're not getting the business value. We would want to provide you with some intelligence that will help you make concerted decisions. And this is a guided journey, right? So the objective in summary is to help CIOs in your journey as trusted advisors. So we are going to be your trusted advisors to build what we call is a repeatable enterprise capability that can continuously create business value. So this is not a one-time use and throw. It's for you for life. It's your tool forever. This framework provides structure, governance, and measurement needed to make all that is required from an AI perspective. And let me make this point very clear. Weakness in one pillar, weakness in one stage, weakness in one phase can really derail your entire AI transformation. That's why we have got our tailors to stitch this together. So as we move on, very quick preview of some of our dashboards and some of our work that's available through the different stages that we have. This is how the stage 1 in terms of diagnose look. What we do is an assessment of the organization across the 7 pillars and across different stages. In Align, we actually give an assessment in terms of the board charter. You look at architect in terms of providing a dashboard to define in terms of what the technology roadmap is. You're providing different RASI matrices in terms of governance. You're also providing different heat maps in terms of execution. And as I said, in terms of scaling, we are providing a transformation scorecard to evaluate in terms of how the transformation is progressing. So in summary, 3 phases, 6 stages, 7 capability pillars backed with 1 single Spark intelligence layer that guides all of you from a diagnosis clarity to scaled impact.
Yeah, I would like to just say that if any of you would like to have a deep dive to see the platform, feel free to drop a mail to us. We can have a one-on-one demo with all of you. So that feel free to drop a mail to us, and then we can have this exclusive call with you guys. Yeah. Moving on.
I think, yeah, Manish, Anish, thank you very much. I think some of them have actually also had a preview of the Spark metrics. I had a couple of people write to me. If you see in the execute stage, we are also bringing in the the knowledge base that we carry from our Spark metrics perspective. So I think, Anish, we should definitely preview. And as I mentioned at the start of the webinar, there's something really exciting for our audience today. So we will spill the beans at the right time. But yeah, if you can move on, Anish, we definitely want to give that. And as I talked about the Spark intelligence, no better than Aman to talk a little bit about that, because he's got about 8 years of work experience managing the Spark intelligence. So Aman, over to you.
Thank you so much, Devendra. And I think, yes, that was so seamlessly, stitched together the entire, stages together, and how each stage is, will impact the transformation journey. I would like to get into more details of how this Spark intelligence actually powers every transformation. So QKS has been, being more than a decade now, are actually covering a lot of technology. So we are working with banks, we're working with healthcare, insurance, so many of verticals around, and we're talking and actually enabling a lot of technology enablement there. We have been using real user signals. We have been benchmarking so many of them and understanding how each organization is moving along. But any transformation advisory is, I think, this is my belief, that is only strong as the intelligence behind it. So when we talk about QK Spark intelligence, the idea is very simple. We wanted the evidence layer that sits behind every diagnostic, every benchmark, every recommendation, every transformation playbook that you read. And that's what we have done. We have brought together three things that enterprises usually need before making serious AI decisions. The first one is market visibility. We want to give you the adoption reality and the benchmark maturity. That's what this Spark intelligence power. As I just mentioned, the first input is the real technology coverage. So QK tracks a broad set of AI and data technology. So the recommendation is grounded in how the market is actually evolving. Whether you take AI governance, AI observability, you take ML platforms, and more than 350 technologies around this QK tracks, and that is what the capabilities is. It will give you that it is powering the entire ETF framework. The second input is coming from real user signal. This is very important because AI transformation cannot be judged only by what is promised in strategy documents or product roadmaps. The strongest signal comes from what users are adopting, where deployments are working, what challenges keep repeating, and which operating patterns are creating value in production, so that you can leverage that things and work it out into your things. So Devendra, and he used to always say that we have to take use of every unfair advantage to win into the race. And I think QKS is your unfair advantage that you can take upon to win in the race, right? And the third input, I think, is the benchmark corpus that we bring along, right? When we profile hundreds of enterprise programs, we have started to see clear maturity patterns across industries, geographies, business functions, and also transformation stages as well. That is the depth of benchmark corpus that you can find, and this creates, I think, a much stronger basis for comparison, because an enterprise can understand where it stands, what good looks like, and what needs to move next. It can move a lot faster. And beyond these three layers, there then comes the analyst layer. So QKS has more than 50 practitioners in terms of senior analysts that work along them. And this is where the market content, benchmark data, and units, user signals are and the decision intelligence are actually brought together and translated into some practical view for the leadership teams. So if you used to see Spark, it's not a simple database. It is actually a decision engine that a lot of users use. And I think that is why Spark intelligence powers diagnostic benchmarks and vendor decisions and the transformation playbook. So the core message here is that strong AI transformation decisions needs to build on evidence, adoption signal, and market depth, and not just on a framework, but a framework which is backed by right evidence and backed by right advantage that you can take. After that, moving to next, I wanted to also do on Anish, you can move to yeah. So these are the I would from Devendra's words. These are the stitchers who have actually stitched the entire ETF framework in so nicely that we have been working with a lot of transformation plans that we have brought together. So and I think this is really important to also understand how the the practitioners are actually led the way, because I think framework only become useful when they are built from real transformation experiences, and these are the real transformation experience that we have. So I think what makes this advisory also strong is the depth of the people behind it. These leaders have worked inside large enterprises, carried transformation mandates, handled executive exceptions, dealt with data and governance complexity. So they know what it takes to move a program from vision to execution. Many of them have also been a part of transformation journey itself. As CIOs, transformation leaders, principal advisors. So the guidance is actually shaped by real operating experience and not theory alone. And that actually matters because AI transformation is not a clean journey. It involves so many pillars: strategy, data, business ownership, change management, vendor decisions, all moving together in sync. So leaders who have been inside these programs actually understand where momentum builds, where decisions slow down, and when organization needs stronger governance or clear ownership. And that's where we have brought these practitioners. So if I have to just sum this slide up in one thing, is that I think the spark gives the signal, but the advisors translate that signal into decisions. So that's the core of bringing these practitioners. And moving to next, I would love to bring Devendra and put some light upon on how is the next steps going to take forward for us.
Hey, Aman, thank you very much. While you did talk about the brain on the framework and put up some of our pictures, I must also say that that's not the only part of the brain. I think QKS is supported by a strong analyst-led community as well. And I think we have some strong analysts, Amandeep being one of them. I think he rightly deserves a picture of his own also at some point of time. I think it's not just only the industry experts, but it also analysis done by some of these people with 10 plus years of experience. So yeah, so why is this just any other framework, right? I'm sure many of you would have seen many other frameworks in the market, may have evaluated it. We have done our own evaluation at our end as well, right? We have seen some frameworks which focus only on assessment, while some focus only on strategy. There are very few, or probably none in my opinion, which focus on advisory enabled execution. And I think I must say that there isn't a framework similar to QKS today in the market, which actually is a guided advisory enabled with intelligence built in, backed up by strong assessment across pillars, taking you through a different journey across 7 stages. So this is where QKS ETF framework is the differentiator. And I'll talk about 4 specific differentiators here. One is kind of the peer intelligence benchmark information, because organizations like yours need realistic comparisons. The second is, and I think Aman talked about it, we work through with a lot of vendors through our Spark evaluation. So we have a lot of vendor neutral intelligence, which not a lot of companies can claim. So the decisions that we take should be based on evidence, not on any commercial agendas, and we are very proud about it. The third is also specific to a region or a region-driven context. And in this case, we have taken Asia Pacific as an example, but the context could be across any geography, right? It could be across any industry for that matter. So we have information, we have intelligence specific to a geography, APAC. We could have information or intelligence specific to Europe for a pharma industry as well. Regional realities matter. And when it comes to regulated industries, regional realities don't just matter, they mandate it. And fourth, absolutely very important, the execution focus, a transformation framework that's built for execution, something that has a playbook, but which also has an availability for an analyst availability at any point of time. So I think that in summary makes our framework really, really unique. Our objective here is not to create another AI rollout toolkit or to sell you another AI solution. Our objective is to help organization create measurable outcomes. The unique differentiation, I would say, for this framework is the peer intelligence benchmark. Also, this has been shaped through collaboration with industry practitioners, enterprises, and the overall QKS community. With that, let me move on to something that's very interesting. And Anish, if you can move on. What I want to share with you is a very recent example of where Divya, Aman, and I worked together on helping a mid-sized financial institution move from their pilots to a governed, scalable AI transformation. In fact, we just wrapped up this project in the first week of May. And they actually utilized our ETA framework extensively to make a sizable progression in their AI journey. So what the challenge was they had a lot of, as we started speaking to them, while they had AI within their organization, it was all fragmented. The visibility was very less in terms of AI maturity. Aman, you remember we interviewed two senior executives in their organization, and trust us, both of them had very different opinions in terms of where the AI maturity is in their organization. So I think where our QKS framework at least got them the visibility is to start looking at single numbers and single definition of where their enterprise maturity lies. There was a lot of ambiguity around which use case to prioritize. They knew the use cases, but they didn't know how to prioritize. And obviously, there was a lot of dependence on consulting-led models, and there was a lot of friction and lack of business continuity. So where QKS came in, and at the center of it was, we actually sat down with them to do a pre-diagnosis analysis. I don't want to use the word survey. We did an extensive analysis, a workshop, pretty much focused on three verticals: capability, governance, and deployment. And really, it was an eye-opener for the organization because they could see their own organization through a different lens in terms of where they are on these three journeys. And that led them to kind of adopting the DEGAS. And the DEGAS is an acronym we have given for the 6 stages for the DEGAS framework. Coupled with the Spark Plus intelligence that Aman talked about, they just absolutely loved it. And the beauty of this is DIY, do it yourself. So QKS is a trusted partner, a trusted advisor here. You are free to choose your own implementation partners. Wherever you need help is where QKS comes into the picture. What's most important is I don't want to talk about the effort. I want to throw light on the impact. We could identify 20 plus AI use cases that their board was excited about. We could give high impact prioritization for 8 to 10 of them. The roadmap, the implementation cycles, the development and deployment cycles started to reduce by 30 to 40%. Quick wins got defined from a 1 year or a year-long stage to 3 to 6 month stage. And then the adoption patterns were defined for 12 to 24 months. So all this was bundled together because we could handhold the organization, the financial institution through a pre-diagnostic survey, implementing the entire DEGAS framework, bringing in our Spark Plus intelligence, making sure we are with them throughout the entire transformation roadmap and journey, and then making sure we leave them in their own good hands only after they are very confident about their scalable AI adoption. So we do confirm at this point of time that we have a very happy US-based financial institution that has been very proudly adopting our ETA framework. Anish? Yeah. So all this has happened, and kind of Aman alluded to this a little bit, but let me just kind of drill down a little further into this. This is backed by a decade of benchmarking. QKS is a decade-old company, started in 2015. We've talked to 350 plus enterprises so far. Our presence scales across 18 plus countries, while APAC is where we have our native coverage. but we have done extensive transformation work, as I mentioned in the previous slide, with a US-based financial institution, as well as with Europe and Africa's as well. And then benchmarking across 100 plus benchmarking done, and we have delivered these boardroom ready outputs that CIOs have absolutely loved it. So Anish talked about taking a free taking an assessment and looking at some of our content from our ETF. Anish, with your approval, can we give them a free offer here? Can they take on a
yeah, I think this is something that we should give exclusively for people who are attending us today. And
that's a great idea. Yeah. So for the people who are attending the webinar today, I know you have put in your 1 hour of busy schedule. You have given it to us, so we owe you something. So this is our free gift. This is our present from our side. What we are offering you is a AI maturity assessment, a structured diagnostic across the pillars, across the maturity assessment I talked about. It will help you assess yourself against your industry benchmark, your peers, and what you will get is a complimentary diagnostic a PDF report, right, Anish? And that will land in their inboxes the moment you log in and register and you complete this assessment. And Anish, how much time does it take? A quick half an hour, 45
so far what we've seen is doesn't take more than 5 minutes. So it's a quick assessment, 9 questions around the 3 pillars that mentioned by Devendra in the slide previously, the previous slide. So
the governance, deployment,
and capability.
And scalability, yes, absolutely. And then a PDF report will be auto-generated and will send to you. So this is a free offer, limited time offer that Anish is giving. So please, audience, we would really love to hear from you in taking this assessment. And we're not just ending there. We are also offering you a free executive workshop that you can book. It will be a 60-minute workshop. Again, facilitated by QKS, no action required at your end. And I think, Aman, we have an ex-CIO who runs this workshop, right? I think when you ran it with the US institution, it was with the CIO who ran the workshop, right? So from a QKS perspective, we are offering somebody top of the house, 60 minutes of undivided attention, tailored to your maturity stage, and an output which you can take it to your CA, CEO, CTO, or even to your board. Okay. So how are we going to do this, Anish? We are just going to give them
we've just put a QR code here, and to help all of you who's attending us, I'll just drop the link in our chat. So
that'll be wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, feel free to go have a look at it. Take a quick assessment, like Devendra mentioned some time back. It won't take more than 5 minutes, and you'll understand where you stand against your peers.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, that's about it, Anish, at our end. I think we've had a wonderful time, Aman and me. I think it's been a great session so far. And I think if there are any questions, Anish, we can take at this moment. We'll be more than happy if there are any comments.
Well, I'm more curious to see. People taking this assessment and then having a look at where they are with their AI journey. And with that, I would like to conclude today's session to all those who've joined us. I want to thank everybody who's joined us. We've discussed today the importance of successful AI transformation, and that it is not about running more pilots, but rather it is about creating a structured approach. It combines leadership alignment, governance, data readiness, and measurable business outcomes. We hope this session has given you a clearer understanding of where your organization stands today and what needs to happen next in the scale of scaling AI. For that, do take the assessment. This is only the beginning, and in our upcoming webinar, which is from AI pilots to enterprise scale, operating models behind a successful AI transformation. So stay tuned to that on June 30th. We'll have a conversation a step ahead further to explore operating models that requires to move AI from isolated initiatives into enterprise-wide capabilities that deliver measurable value. Before we close, I would like to encourage all of you to, again, take that complimentary assessment. It won't take you more than 4 to 5 minutes, and do book the 60 minutes workshop with our veterans from industry veterans. It's an opportunity to benchmark your AI maturity, identify the capability gaps, and build a practical roadmap for your AI transformation journey. I would like to thank our experts from taking your time off and sharing your insights with all our audience today. Once again, thank you for your time and looking forward to seeing you all in the upcoming sessions. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.